People to the people podcast of the DMV. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's about we, and God we trust. Sir Rod and Lady Z, PTP.
Positive thinking people. Good evening. Welcome. This is Rodney Grimes, your host at People to People. You know how I get excited every time that I come on bringing you some positive information, changing people's lives, trying to do the things that make the community move in the right direction. You know, the slogan is People to People, Power to Power, Positive Thinking People. I have a beautiful guest on here with me today, Miss Kamala. Kamala Lopez. And Miss Kamala is a young lady who is really going to just give y'all some information that it's going to change many people's lives if you can get involved and take everything that she's going to share with you very serious, because this is something that needed to be brought into the community all over the United States, basically. And people need to hear what Miss Lopez has to say today. Miss Lopez, how you doing this evening?
I'm great. I really loved the intro. It made me feel happy and it was really beautiful, and I like the song.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be a part of this process of getting this information out. And people all over, they do know that when I get some information that I think is important, I'd like to get involved. Can we first hear a little bit about yourself and then the project that you are going to talk about?
Sure. Well, my day job is as an actress. I've been acting in film and television since I was 7 years old. I started out in Caracas, Venezuela, which is where I grew up. And then when my family moved back to the United States, to New York City, I started on the TV show Sesame Street, where I was a regular character for a couple of years. And it was a great way to start my career because the people were so fantastic. And then I went to college at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. And for those 4 years, I really only acted during my summer holidays. And then after college, I moved back to New York. I did several TV shows that were shooting on the East Coast. And then I moved out to Los Angeles. And I've been in Los Angeles ever since. I've worked in over 30 feature films, hundreds of TV shows, and that's what I still do. But in about 2009, I found out that women in the United States did not have equal rights to men. And I was really shocked because, like most Americans, I believed that we already had equal rights. And I thought, well, what does it mean to not have equal rights? There must be some negative ramifications that come out of that. And so that started me on the journey that I've been on for the past 15 years now, that led to my documentary film, which I directed, co-wrote, and co-produced, called Equal Means Equal, which you can watch on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. If you don't, you can rent it. I think it's a couple dollars. And it took me 7 years to make the film. And over that time, I looked at about 25 different areas in society where discrimination on the basis of sex might have an impact. And I found that in every area, a lack of legal equality in our Constitution was very detrimental to women, children, and American families on the whole. And I realized that we had to finish the job that was started back in 1923 when Alice Paul and her cohorts wrote the Equal Rights Amendment, which is just 24 words, very simple. And I'll just tell them to you so your audience can see it's not very controversial. It says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. That's all it is. And women have been fighting for that now for well over 100 years. And we finally have gotten to the point where we have achieved the 38 states needed to complete the amendatory process. All we need now is for them to put it in the US Constitution, which is a simple act by the US Archivist called publication. Unfortunately, when we achieved the 38th state, which was the state of Virginia, we achieved it in 2020, but Donald Trump was president at that time, and he blocked it from being published. That had never, ever happened in the history of our country, that a duly ratified, legally ready to be certified amendment was blocked by anybody. So our organization, Equal Means Equal, sued. And we said, it's not up to one man who's essentially a librarian to stand in the way of equal rights for 160 million people who have voted for this. And we were in court for many years. The states of Illinois, Nevada, and Virginia also filed suit. And unfortunately, the court said that we had no standing to even ask that question. So we assumed when President Biden came to office, he would do what is obligated to do and simply tell the archivist to publish the amendment. Well, he has not done that. And now we only have 20 days left before he leaves office. And he needs to make that call and tell the archivist to publish the ERA immediately.
So you said, so we have at least 20 days to go public and try to get the president of the United States of America to do his duty to get this taken care of.
That's it. It's that simple.
So I was talking to different individuals in reference to this movement and trying to get him to do this, and some women was feeling like, okay, well, we come a long way, so it's things are going equally for everybody right now. And I then said, I work in different areas that I know that I've talked to many women who do not get treated equally when it comes to different positions and pay. And they have a tendency to be overlooked or have to work even harder.
That's exactly right. The pay gap between women and men has not budged in decades. In fact, it's getting worse. For Latina women in LA County, it's 44 cents that they make compared to the white male dollar. Now, how are you supposed to raise a family on 44% of the money? For Black women, it's at 67 cents to the white male dollar. And for a lot of white women, it's somewhere between 72 and 89 cents. But regardless, whether you're a single mother or you're in a family with a man as your partner, you're still not bringing home your full dollar, which means that the pressure is on for your family to put food on the table and pay your bills. And it's wrong. And a lot of the areas where women are underpaid are areas like childcare, teaching, areas where the predominant group is female. So in my film, there's a quote by Gloria Steinem where she says, valet parkers make a lot more money than childcare workers. And it's not because we care more about our cars than we do about our kids. It's because valet parkers are mostly male and childcare workers are mostly female. And that's what's called disparate impact. And that is something that the Equal Rights Amendment would address. Another very, very important thing when women say we're doing okay, we're not doing okay in the area of gendered violence, meaning violence against women, whether it's domestic violence, sexual assault, sexual harassment, other forms of violence are not equally protected by our laws, simply because We are not in the Constitution. There was a very terrible case in Colorado where a woman had a restraining order against her husband, but he showed up at her house and stole her 3 kids who were out playing in the yard, stole the kids. She contacted the police 9 times that day to say, my husband violated his restraining order and stole my kids. Well, the police did nothing. They didn't try and find him. And at 3:00 in the morning that same night, he showed up at the police station. He had killed all 3 children, and he killed himself as well. And she took the case all the way to the Supreme Court. When it got to the Supreme Court, they said that the police did not have a mandatory duty to enforce a restraining order, which basically means your restraining order is worth about the same as a piece of toilet paper, because you can go get one, but if the police don't enforce it, it doesn't mean anything. And that, again, is why we need the Equal Rights Amendment. It makes equal protection of our laws guaranteed and enforceable.
Let me ask you a question also. How does this also play a factor when we're talking about the rights that a woman have over her body?
This is something that's crucial. Right now, recently, there was a Supreme Court case that came down where the rights of women to control their fertility and their bodily autonomy were stripped from them after more than 50 years of having that control. The case was called Dobbs, and the Supreme Court justice that weighed in on it said, you know, women do not have a right to control their body because there is nothing explicit in the text of the U.S. Constitution that provides them with that right. But that was a lie. The fact was that at that time, the ERA had already been ratified. And what the ERA does is it gives women control of their body under equality. Roe versus Wade gave women control of their body under privacy. But equal rights means that unless I can tell you that you must, sir, have a vasectomy and that you must not, sir, have Viagra, then I cannot tell a woman that she cannot have birth control and she cannot have an abortion. So it's a different method by which we get to the same place. But I want to bring up the fact that President Biden knew at that time that the Equal Rights Amendment was ratified. He was in court. His lawyers were in court fighting using the same arguments that Donald Trump's lawyers were using against us. He knew that the women's rights to their body and health care would be saved by simply applying ERA, and he chose not to do that. So we need to understand that there is no present political party that is on our side. And that is why it's very dangerous for us not to recognize that we have been gaslit, we have been lied to, and we need to take the power back by the people, for the people, and tell this president to do his job. We don't care what flag he's flying. We don't care if he's red or blue. We want him to do his job and publish and certify ERA so we can protect the rights that's taken us 100 years to get.
Yeah. I find it just sometimes I'm very uncomfortable to realize that in this time in 2024 that individuals are still having to fight to be able to have the jurisdiction over what goes on in their personal life and with their personal body. We know that in this time, so many, and that we talking about the women specifically right now, that so many women have been abused, used, and taken advantage of. I have a lot of women, female associates. Many of them that when we had private talks, these things come up. And I kind of feel bad being a male that sometimes I know I stand a better chance because of being a male, but also know that they share the exact same emotions and feelings as I do and work just as hard. And when we are put in position where we don't look at the gender, and look at the individuals who are moving forward and the purpose, that's when we are treating with equal rights. And that's so, so important.
It's so critical. And I want to say that men have a very, very important role to play in this story, because it's not men against women at all.
Right.
You know, we are the lovers, the wives, the sisters, the daughters, the aunts, the grandmas. And we, you know, men and women are like right and left hands. You know, we fit together, and it doesn't make any sense not to use both hands. So I appeal to the men, and I ask them to please step up for us, because it helps all American families for us to be equal. There's nothing, I think a lot of times people with privilege, it's said, see equality as a loss for them. And some men may feel that if women get equality, that maybe they will get less. But I don't think that's the case. I think that we will all get more as a society when we come together and support one another. And I would very much like to ask men to get involved in this fight, because your voices are powerful. The president listens. The society listens. And when we have our brothers by our side, we cannot lose.
Well, one of the things that I always try to get individuals to look at, in order for it to see some change and see it in a positive way, you have to be involved in the change. And so you can't just sit back and say, well, you know, this is what's happening, and don't do anything. We put people in office. We have to have them to be held accountable for the seats in which they sit. And we know that they are aware of this because it's been going on for many, many years. It is time really for it to stop, for equal opportunity to go across the board. Because if we do not, it's not just them taking advantage of a situation. We're really destroying our democracy, the energy that we use together to move forward and to set the tone for the other world, for other people in the world. So here in the United States, we really need to collectively come together and make a point to bring this to the forefront. If I may ask you, they're going to be meeting tomorrow, correct?
Yes, we are going to be meeting, and we'd love you to come at the National Archives, which is at 701 Constitution Avenue Northwest, right here in Washington, D.C. We're going to be meeting at 9:30 in the morning, and we are going to be protesting and demanding that the archivist publish the ERA. President Biden needs to call her and tell her to publish, and she needs to do her job. There are two people here that need to do their jobs. One is the president and one is the archivist. And once that is done, our rights will be in cement. You cannot change an amendment to the U.S. Constitution because a different politician comes into power. Like you can, let's say the Violence Against Women Act, one year they want to fund it, then they don't want to fund it, then they want to change it. That doesn't work with constitutional amendments. That is then the law, the foundation. And like you said, if we have a strong foundation, then we can reach out to the women in the world that are being horribly, violently abused, women who are locked in rooms, who are covered from head to toe, who are not allowed to go to school, not allowed to leave their homes, being genitally mutilated. We need to stand up for these women, and we cannot do it from a position of hypocrisy.
I totally agree with you. I would just like to just say from a man perspective, for every man that tune into this podcast, please do something to put your voice in to support this movement. We need the president to make this happen before he leave office. So I'm talking about you can make phone calls. We can call Congress. We can do whatever. A lot of times the things that we're really, really supposed to pay attention to, we kind of push to the side. and we'll be worrying about these things that's running all over the television and what's it just in the news itself. But what do we do for the future? I'm talking about my granddaughter. I'm talking about my daughter, your sister, your aunt, and even our parents who before us did not get the opportunity to experience equal opportunity. Absolutely. So we definitely got to do something about that.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, we are closer than we have ever been in the history of this country. We are so close. It's like I said to my husband, because he said, oh my God, you're going to leave me for over a month and go live in Washington, D.C. And what am I going to do? And my mom is, in her mid to late 80s and, life, right? And I said, look, it's like we're not even at the 1 yard line. We got that touchdown, and now they're trying to roll it back on us. And I'm in the locker room taking my cleats off. No, I got to come back on the field, and I got to make sure that this score gets recorded because we have won this game. And we are not going to permit them to take it from us after millions and millions of women have worked for 100 years. They're going to tell us to start over? You know what the chances of us getting an amendment like this through in this time period with the state legislatures the way they are, with the Congress as divided, that is a death sentence. That is sabotage. That is people want to keep the status quo going, just trying to tell us, oh, it'll be all right, just start it over again. We are not starting anything over again. We want the voices of the millions of women that voted for this to be respected, as is the law, as it says in the Constitution. And we are not going to put up with it if you try and steal this from us.
I have individuals who chiming in. Dr. Tyncey Lynch, she says, do you have a direct link that can be used to send right to the White House?
Yes, there are two phone numbers, and I'll ask Rachel to get it for me. There's a direct phone number to the White House, and there's a text number to the White House. The problem is that they're on vacation right now, so that number isn't doing us any good. And I feel like in a way, I mean, we've been doing petitions, we've been doing postcard drives, we've been writing letters. We have 46 senators, we have 122 congresspeople, we have over 500,000 signatures. We have the American Bar Association, the American Constitution Society, the League of Women Voters, the American Association of University Women. We have got the receipts. What we don't have is the president doing his legal job. So, okay, the number to call is 202-456-1111, or you can text 302-404. And now the last digits are hard to see. 404. Oh, Lordy. I'll have to get the text, because if I press the button, then it'll start singing on me. These are the videos on our Instagram. Maybe someone can, it's the text number for the White House. But as I said, we got to get a little more pushy in these last 20 days. We got to use the original tools of people power, which is showing up, getting loud, getting in their faces, showing up outside the White House, showing up at the entrances where the staff goes in, showing up at the archives, making noise, going on social media, making sure they know that we know what's up. Because he has said to us, not enough people know about this, so he could get away with it.
I want to repeat that number. It was 202-456-1111, correct?
That's right. That's the and here, and then the text is 302-404-0880.
0880. Okay. And I'm going to repeat that again, and we're going to have this put into so that people will be able to do their part, make the phone calls and text in. The text number is 302-404-0880.
Yes. And all you want to say is, President Biden, publish the Equal Rights Amendment before you leave office and cement your legacy as a great president for civil rights. Otherwise, you will go down in history as having lost the most rights for the largest group of people in the country.
This is amazing. Let's go back and talk about the program that you produced. The show you said that they can actually go on and they can look at it. Come on, let's talk about that again.
So Equal Means Equal won Best U.S. Documentary at Michael Moore's Film Festival. It was a New York Times Critics Pick. I interviewed hundreds of women in all areas of society, and I looked at 26 different subject areas where I thought maybe discrimination was having a negative effect on women, children, and American families. And I had to boil it down to 90 minutes because if you make it, my original cut was over 4.5 hours long because there is a lot to talk about. But I narrowed it down to about a dozen areas, from human trafficking to equal pay to rape to the law itself to the bias in science, where they don't have to test new medicines on women and men the same. So initially, when they had heart medication for they tested for heart medication, they only tested it on male rats. It ended up killing hundreds of women because we're different. We may be equal, but we're not the same. And so I'm not saying it's a good film because I made it. I'm saying it's a good film because I needed to educate myself. And so I took 7 years to really educate myself. And I was very meticulous about it. And so there's nobody that walks out of watching that film and has any argument with the necessity of constitutional equality for women. I wanted it to be an airtight case. I wanted it to be both emotional and intellectual. And so there are stories of women experiencing the discrimination, but there's a lot of statistics. And although the movie is several years old, we had our 8th anniversary with Michael Moore in Traverse City this year, where he brought me back to do a screening. You know what? If anything, it's gotten worse. It's heartbreaking.
Yes. I mean, well, again, the saying where many people have heard, we keep hope alive. Let me say this. It's up to us as individuals when we get on platforms like this to share the information, to do our part. It takes each one of us to come together collectively to say, look, and I say this to every person that's in office. I told I mentor to young kids, and I always tell them, I said, when people are put into office, you don't realize for real, they work for you. Okay? And a lot of us forget that. We do not push the power of the button that we possess to say, hey, it's your responsibility as the president of the United States, as the vice president, as the governor, as the mayor, to put yourself in position to make sure that what the people want and need, they get. And it's so important for us to really come together collectively to protect the upcoming generations.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't do anything, then we're talking about something just it's going to be repeated over and over and over again. And the worst thing for me, I told this story, and I think I mentioned it during the meeting, but when my daughter was born, I had a different perspective of how to address women. And that's really sad that I have to say that, but I'm being honest. And I realized something, not just because of my mother and my sisters, but I'm talking about, with most men and women too. But when you got a little girl, you start to think about how you want her to be treated, right? And it's imperative that we, the men, speak up, not just for our daughters, but for every other man's daughter too. Because they are put in positions where they do not have the same voice, but they have to work just as hard. They are part of the movement moving forward that allow us to accomplish so many things. Now, again, when it comes down to it, and I don't want to sound like, I'm just pushing to say, women are everything, but they are to me anyway. But when I know that a woman is serious about moving forward, I have many, many people that I deal with on a regular basis. One of them, and a few of them are actually on here right now, that I know that they take their job very, very serious. I'm going to shout out Dr. Tynesy Lynch, who's on here, Dr. Conti, and Queen Rachel. These are ladies who are moving in the community, making things happen. And they are actually being recognized, but it's because they demand their respect. And many of us, seeing them move in that arena in which they do, know that they have to work sometimes a little harder, and they shouldn't have to. Now, I'm not trying to, target anybody, to hurt anybody's feelings, but I like to speak the truth. My slogan is people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. People to people. So that's me, and that's me and them and you. So you are part of the people, the woman. You follow me? And
Yeah.
then we're talking the power we possess. This power we have right now that you and I are using, when we come together, we got other individuals like the president who has power too. Let's him hear that we are acknowledging, we recognize his power, but recognize ours as well. And when we do this and come together, we become positive thinking people. And what happens? We start getting positive results. And this is what we're talking about. I can't imagine any woman who's so dedicated in her area, in her field, walking into an office space and start to get judged because she wear high heels, or her hair is in a bun, or because she may not be able to pick the desk up and move it to the other side of the room. We're talking about the intelligence of human individuals who play a big factor in the growth of our communities and our economy. And when they are treated equally, that's when you see the best of the best come out for everybody. So I commend you for, what you're doing. And I'm just so excited. And we still got time. So I'm just thanking you ahead of time for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I'm really excited. I want to shout out to Ms. Barbara Jones, who that meeting last night was phenomenal. And I was listening. And I know that you saw me. I got excited last night because it really touched home with me. And I just think that we as a people in this country, let's get past all this unnecessary drama and make it about me, and make it about we. That's every man, child, woman, that we come together and everybody get treated equally. Equal means equal. And it's amazing where we are in this day and time. And like I said, I'm trying to peep down here and repeat the document. I think we want the document.
The documentary is called Equal Means Equal. It's on Amazon Prime. Patricia Arquette was one of the executive producers. So you'll see the link says Patricia's name in there. And it's the same name as the movement, Equal Means Equal. And if you have Amazon Prime, it should be free for you to watch it. And I just want to mention a statistic that always blows me away that can lead people to understand how much women do that goes unrecognized. Women in the United States do 100 million hours of unpaid labor a year. The society would grind to a halt if it weren't for the unpaid labor of our women. That's taking care of children, the sick, the elderly, cooking, cleaning, whatever it is that they're doing. They think that, people just think society operates smoothly. No, it's on the backs of women. Worldwide, certainly, but in this country as well, 100 million unpaid hours a year. So the ERA begins to put a framework in there where those sacrifices can become recognized. For instance, childcare is automatically assumed as a general policy to be the problem of the woman. She's going to have to work. Who's going to take care of the kids? Well, that'll be something she'll have to figure out. And that is an undue burden. Children are for both the man and the woman and the government. God knows they want us to continue to make children so they can tax them. Mm-hmm. There has to be, it can't just be dumped on her lap when she's making 44 cents, 68 cents, 80 cents on the dollar. They don't give her a break on her rent, on her utilities. They don't say, this is one thing that really makes me mad. Let's say you're a single Latina woman living in Los Angeles where the rents are astronomical and you can't make ends meet. And you have a couple of kids and the Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services comes to your house and they open the refrigerator and there's not enough food there. What do? They take your kids. They put them in the foster care system where generally within 2 weeks, they'll run off and 24 hours after that, they'll be picked up by a pimp. At which point they will enter into the whole commercial sex trafficking situation. And if the police do find a child, I'm talking 11 years old, 12 years old, working on the streets for commercial sex work, who gets punished? The child. The child is not old enough to consent to sex, and yet she goes to juvie, and the pimp doesn't get found, and the John does an equivalent of a 2-hour traffic school, pays a small fine. That child's life is ruined at that point. Why? Because her mother didn't make enough money to put food on the table, and then the state took her. So this is the power of equal rights, is to keep our children safe.
If you could you also what's the name of the paperwork that we need the President Biden to sign?
We need him to publish the Equal Rights Amendment.
The Equal Rights Amendment.
It's called ERA for short, and it will be the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. All it is 1 3-minute phone call to the librarian to go ahead and write it in the book. We have a letter from the librarian from 2012 saying, yes, if you go ahead and get those last 3 states, I will publish. We went out. We fought real hard. We got Nevada in 2017. We got Illinois in 2018 after 25 years of struggle. And we got Virginia in 2020. And each time he was publishing it, came to the last one, which was going to make the whole thing law. Trump stepped in and said, you are not allowed to publish. And he listened to him because he got scared. Instead of just publishing and saying, what are you going to do? That's my job. It says it right here. I got to do it. I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it. Instead, he was like, and didn't do it. and Trump got away with it. And then this guy, Biden, just stayed on that same track. And the real question that we need to ask and answer is, why is Biden siding with Trump against the women and children of America? What is it? Is it because of being a devout Catholic? Is it because of corporate pressure? Corporations pay women $1.6 trillion a year less. Are they pressuring him? The pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies. Who is telling him not to do this? We need to get to the bottom of that. We need to expose who it is, and we need to get him to do his job. There's part of his duties, which is called the Take Care Clause, which I will just quickly take a look at. It is called 1 U.S. Code Section 106B, and that says that it is the requirement of the president to see that all the laws are faithfully executed. Well, he is violating 106B right now. The Article 5 of the Constitution also says very clearly, upon ratification of 3/4 of the states, the amendment shall be adopted forthwith. That means you don't get to think about it. You don't get to go, I don't know. Maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll decide. That's not your job. Shall be adopted. Did we get the 3/4? Yes. Adopt it, publish it immediately. You are violating the law. They should send that woman to prison. He should fire her, send her to prison, put somebody in there, publish it if she doesn't want to obey him. But I think he's hiding behind her. I think if he told her, look, do your job, publish at the ERA, she would do it, even though her husband does work for the Koch brothers. So I don't know why on earth she was appointed to begin with, but in any case, I hear she's trying to take Martin Luther King's pictures out of the National Archives. This is not a good woman, but she is right now, she and he are controlling the fate of the majority of the American citizens in this country. That is not democracy.
I tell you, I'm just right now, my mind, sometimes it goes all over the place when I'm thinking about just how people are treated. And when we know what needs to be done and is ignored, the equal rights for every individual is important. A lot of times we will look for things to complain about, and by doing so, we can create more problems than which we have. If everybody is treated equally, and I say this, I want to put this out there so I'm going to help some individuals who may not really look at it from this perspective. If you have the judge in the building, and then you got the security guard that's allowing, checking people coming in, and then you got the individual who's cleaning the bathroom, and you got the person that's working in the cafeteria, okay, you're not going to expect everybody to receive the same pay. But you would expect everybody to be treated equally with respect. Because in all cases, everybody's position is important. This is something that we have to get past, trying to find the negative things per se to say why it shouldn't be like this, when every human being that's capable of having a civil conversation to contribute to their community and to their surrounding areas, they should have the opportunity to go in and receive equal respect and pay for the work that they do. Here in the United States of America is one of the countries that many, many people come to because they say you can come here and make your dream come true. But a lot of times we find ourselves in a position where getting that dream is not across the board. We have individuals in different areas that possibly be put in positions, not just because of their sex. We talk about because of the color of their skin, which we have been going through this for many, many years. A lot of us got to take the time to do what you're doing, to get out of your comfort zone and speak up and say, we demand equal rights. We demand every person that holds an office to know you're not the person that controls my life. I'm responsible for my life. Okay? I understand we follow the laws are made, but make them apply across the board. We as people have to get to a point where we put our foot down. Many times when I've been pulled over just from, as I'm gonna keep it real, riding black, I have to put my hands on the steering wheel and I realize I say I'm gonna stay calm while this guy come up to me, male or female, but not of the same race many times, and I'll say, what did I do? When I know I didn't break the law. But because of the difference that goes on outside, in many, many other cases, it has a tendency to carry on in different generations. So it is important that we really focus to say equal opportunity across the board. We want everybody to feel comfortable. We want everybody, when you say you're in the United States of America and you walk in the streets, you don't want to feel like you're being treated different just because you're a woman or you're black, Hispanic, Asian, or whatever the case may be. So I just reach out to everyone. Me personally, with all my grandchildren and my children, I do everything I can to try to make things better for them for their tomorrow. Because I know that they are the future. And when we work hard together and come out and say, let the people in office who we put there, let them do their job. So we saying to anyone, you see the number is 202-456-1111. The text number is 302-404-0880.
And most importantly, if you could come tomorrow to the National Archives and put your physical body there for them to see, that is the most powerful thing we can do. And we will be at 701 Constitution Avenue Northwest on the steps of the National Archives from 9:30 to 11. And we would love to have you there with us because we want him to see that we know what's up and we're not standing for it.
That makes a difference. And when they see people come out collectively, they start to realize how serious people are and they make change. We need to have her back on and send this out to markets so we can have our sorority, church, family members. I'm reading. Family members. To hear this message. This is some of the messages that's coming in. And,
I want to mention the Divine Nine and the power of these sororities and fraternities. We would not have won the state of Virginia without the participation of the Deltas and other sororities and fraternities in the community that stepped up and showed up. And if we can get those same people to know about, okay, we got Virginia, we were supposed to be done, but we've been blocked, and these rights that we fought so hard for in Virginia are being stolen from us. 4 years later, we're still fighting to get the thing that we already got. If we can get the Divine Nine and other community groups involved, that will seal the deal. You can't fight that.
I tell you, Again, it's going to be up to individuals to try to come out tomorrow. If they can show up in forces. Now, we already know. Let me tell you something. Let's keep it real. That's one of the things I like to keep real when I'm trying to put some messages out there. Hey, dress warm. Bring you some. Get you a little thing with some hot cocoa in it and some hot coffee, because guess what? It'll be worth it for you to stand out there and just get a little chill. That's going to make a big bang in the future for so many others.
That's
we
right.
know that many people in the past had to make sacrifices, and it's not much. For how long do you think you'll be out there?
Just an hour and a half. We're going to have cameras there. Emmanuel Sims from the activist called Overtime is going to be live streaming. WBAI in New York is going to run our live stream. We're going to have speakers. We have banners. We want to make a show that we can then send to Biden and say, look at how many people showed up. Look at how many people care. And you know what? Tomorrow is the beginning of the next 20 days, not the end. We are going to be doing things every single day until this man publishes the ERA or Trump is inaugurated, at which point, unfortunately, our hopes are dashed, because they're going to tell us to go start the whole thing over. And your granddaughters won't even be alive by the time that thing possibly happens.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Again, you came all the way down from California to come down to support this movement. And we so appreciate that. Many of us here in the metropolitan area, we are fighting for so many different things.
I know.
And it's really, really sad that in this day and time that we're going through these processes, but it's necessary. So that's what we do. It says, I will be praying. I am in Georgia. I wish I have known I would have showed up. That's Dr. Tynesy Lynch. She's a serious activist out moving around, making things happen all over the world. I do a lot of networking with her, along with many other individuals who's on here. Dr. Conti is in the chat as well. And I'm just excited that you came on. That you came on to really push this. And the thing that we have individuals like Ms. Barbara Jones, who is a networker in so many areas here in the Washington, D.C. area, the DMV. Sims, too. I've worked with him. Him and I have a little history. So I'm actually so proud of Emmanuel Sims over time. It was just amazing that I had the opportunity. Dr. Evans, who was on yesterday as well, who was speaking, and I think that he's going to be contributing his production to help to get the word out. We got a lot of people going to come together. I can tell you this. I'm hoping that you keep me in the loop. I want to know what's going on. I'm going to do everything I can to keep this moving forth. Even when you leave to go back to California, again, I definitely want to have you come back as a guest I want to talk about your movie career, your acting career, but what you do personally to support this movement for the women, the females of the United States, the females of the world. This is not just something that's here on one platform. This is for every woman to be treated equally. And I can honestly say that if we take this serious and make a statement, and we do it collectively, we will get good results. See, sometimes we feel like we just feel like, it's a waste of time. But I do know that as we move forth, a lot of people will realize, something, we here to make a statement. I know that I spoke to Barbara Jones several times, and she was telling me about some other movements that we needed to address. And when she brought this up, I saw how serious she was. So she was somewhat emotional as she was talking about it, and then when I was listening to the females that was on the meeting yesterday, it hit a just a soft spot in my heart. And I say that because I deal with so many different other individuals in the public that are females. Now, there's a lot of positive males that's doing things, and they're out there making different things happening in the community, and we got to come together collectively to do so, and we do that. But this right here is important. I want people to take it serious. Again, I want to go back and talk about the Equal Means Equal, the documentary. I want them to go look at that. I'm going to look at that tonight.
Okay.
I'm going to look at that tonight. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to sit back and I want to see this, because I think that the more and more we get a taste of it, we'll start to feel, that we are making a difference, and we have to really, really get to a point where we say, just don't talk about it, do something about it.
And I want to say that for people that want to learn more about it, they can also go to our website, equalmeansequal.org. And there's a lot of information there. If you click on the news, if you click on campaigns, if you click on learn, there's a great deal of information that you can do a deep dive, because we've been at it for a long, long time. But the movie is important because you'll see how long this has been going on and how profound this fight is. It is the civil and human right struggle of the century, is to help women all over the world.
Can I ask you? I'm gonna ask you this question, and it's kind of going in both areas. Being an actress, right? Do you run into that same problem even in the movie industry?
Absolutely. There's a lot of, well, first of all, as we know from the lawsuit that Jennifer Lawrence filed, she got paid. She was the star of the movie, and she got paid $3 million, and the other guy was getting $12 million. His part was smaller. We know Meryl Streep makes less than Steven Seagal or something. It's so out of proportion. But there's also a lot of sexual harassment in the movie business, where there's like a lot of pressure. I experienced, because I started young, so I experienced a lot of pressure, and I never put up with it. I would just get fired. I've been fired from more movies and TV shows than a lot of people have even been in. But they'd be like, all right, in this scene, you're going to walk out of the shower and you'll be talking to your husband at the sink. And I'll be like, why am I walking out of the shower in this scene? What does that have to do with anything? And they're like, don't worry about it. Just walk out of the shower. I said, why didn't he walk out of the shower and I'll be at the sink?
Yeah.
They're like, no, you have to. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. So good luck. Think of some other place to put the scene or whatever you got to do. But the gratuitous sexualization of women is really a commodity in my business. And I understand beauty is very powerful and I love it as much as everybody else. But it's women mostly that are sexually objectified and commodified. And it makes their shelf life quite small. In other words, you have power from about 17 to about 28, and then your price goes down because, so go your body or whatever the case may be. That's the business I'm in, and I understand that. I didn't walk into it thinking that I was going into, Nobel Prize winning scientific research. I knew what I was walking into, but it also doesn't mean I'm going to put up with it.
I've listened to many women of color that are underpaid for their roles in the movie industry, not just in the workplace, but I'm talking about as we see on television.
Yeah, Taraji was one that she stood up and she said, Why are you going to pay me this? Look at all the parts that I've had. Look at all the awards that I've had. She is, she's a fighter, and Zoe Saldana is a fighter. There are Rosario Dawson's a fighter. There are a lot of women that are kind of going, you know what? No, this is not working. You're selling the movie on my back, and then you're not paying me for that. That's not right. So, we're getting there, but I'll tell you what, if you build a skyscraper on quicksand, you can't wonder why the windows are rattling and why the door frames are akimbo. It's because there's nothing underneath it. So I can go, they can pay me less or sexually harass me, but when I get to court, I'm not going to get anywhere. Look at the case at Walmart. That was the largest civil rights discrimination case in U.S. history. They had more than enough truckloads of evidence that Walmart was discriminating against women. They had so much evidence. Poor Betty Duke, she died. She never saw $1 of what they owed her. They underpaid her. They didn't promote her. She trained all the men that would then become managers. But you know what Walmart did? They had the money to just drag it out and drag it out and drag it out. And then they hired a Supreme Court justice's son to represent them at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, there are just too many women with too many problems. I think you're going to have to go back and break it up and come back again. And by this time, these are women making minimum wage at Walmart. How do you expect them to fight against the company that big?
I tell you, again, this is amazing. I'm just shout out to Barbara Jones, Mr. Sims, Overtime, all the individuals.
Also, shout out to Seba Chavez.
Yes. Yes. Now, I was on the phone with her, the first lady.
Yeah. She's been fighting hard too to get this word out, to use her. I met Barbara Jones because of Seba, and she's doing everything she can to make sure that this doesn't get buried and that the information gets out there. So I'm very grateful to her as well.
And we are running out of time, but I'm kind of just running over just a tad bit. But I want to say also, because I have some individuals on here who served in the military, women, and Dr. Angela Conti, she says women in the military took years to get respect and recognized.
And they're underpaid. They don't get paid the same as the men. They don't get promoted. There's a statistic in my movie that the upper levels in the military have something like 2% are women or something, even though 20% of the military is female. And Donald Trump wants to get women out of the military, apparently. I don't know, whatever it is. The women in the military deserve equal pay for the jobs that they do. It affects your Social Security. It affects everything. Is if you make less money, that's how they calculate how much Social Security you're going to get too. 75% of the poor elderly people are women. So yes, the military is very important to have ERA.
Well, again, I am just so thankful that you gave me the opportunity to interview with you. I don't if there's, and I'm sure it should be a very good turnout. We want everybody that can tell somebody, call somebody, and let them know it's only an hour and a half at the most. Come down there, just go down there and just stay for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Just show up to let the presence be seen. Because if everybody come down there, and I'm just putting this out there because it's gonna be cold, but I'm gonna show you how to do this. Be down there 9:30 sharp, and at 10 o'clock, check and see if your fingers are real cold or whatever. But at least they know you were there, and you make that statement. You want the television crew down there to see you. You want people to walk up and ask you questions, and you want to make a statement to say, "Look, equal means equal." I thank you, Ms. Lopez. Thank you so much. Please, again. Make a promise to come back we can do this again before the 20 days is over.
Yeah,
that's not a problem. I was thinking possibly to have a few other people to join in because we could do that. So that yeah, that way then we can actually really I just let people hear and know how serious this is. And again, we say thank you to you so much for your dedication, and we send peace and blessings to you. And I'm always a phone call away, okay?
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at the National Archives, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good
It's People to People, the People podcast of the DMV. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about we and God we trust. Sir Rod and Lady Z. PTP.